the best team in the Big East, even though they're not an Eastern school, are the Blue Jays of Creighton. Most polls have them somewhere between 4 and 6 or 7. We talked about North Carolina probably being the presumed number one team in the country to start the season. I could make some pretty strong arguments that Creighton is the best team in the country. Top to bottom, starting 5 to bench, they are the best team in the country. And nobody is going to want to have them in their draw come tournament time.
I'm with you on that. I think Creighton is the team to beat in the Big East. I think they're a legit top 10 team to start off the season. And I mean, that's, you know how it goes with the beginning of the year, where you put a team 1 through 10, it doesn't really matter after the first couple weeks, but they're a legit top 10 team. You know, you could put them top 5 if you really wanted to. I wouldn't bat a single eye. 23-12 record last year, 12-7 in the Big East. They made it to the Big East championship game, lost to Villanova, but it really felt like they had so many issues, so many setbacks, so many obstacles in their way of injuries, and really they had a young squad last year, and they still found a way to be successful. Now they lost 2 starters last year, but they still have, I think, a great team, and they have a lot of. When you look at who is on the team, you know, you got Duke transfer guard Alex O'Connell, you got Ryan Hawkins, who should be approved. I think that this team is going to be the best team in the Big East, and that's not coming lightly, because I think that there is, I know we talked about it in the ACC, there were 9 or 10 teams that can compete. I think there are 5 teams that can compete in the Big East, and that's saying something in this conference, because I think there is a gap in the tiers in this conference compared to maybe some of the other big name conferences. But when you look at that top tier, the tippy top, Creighton is on that for me.
And remember, their floor general, Ryan, I think it's Nemhard, is how you pronounce his name. He broke his wrist at the beginning of February. He missed the rest of the season. And they still had a great Big East tournament run. They still, in the postseason, did very, very well. We alluded to in our college football podcast this week, South Dakota State. They have a big transfer from South Dakota State. People keep saying he's the new Larry Bird. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but watching him play at South Dakota State, he's the reason that South Dakota State pulled off some pretty big wins against some pretty good programs last year. He is going to be the difference maker. I mean, he's 6'7", so he can play on the front line. He's a decent rebounder, but he can shoot from anywhere.
Yeah, he's going to be a great wing. Yeah, Baylor Shireman, that's his name. Yeah. And he's going to be a fantastic wing for this team. I think something that they weren't necessarily missing, but could definitely have had improved from last year. And you're right about Nemhard. They had the injury last year that hurt him. But even though with his injury, him and Trey Alexander both really exceeded expectations in the backcourt for this team. Again, Creighton is going to be one of those teams that we really got to watch out and pay attention to. I think that they're going to benefit on maybe some of these coaching changes, because Greg McDermott is top-notch coach. If we were putting him in another conference, we would still put him as one of the top notches in the conference. I know we talked how big it was in the ACC.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, now that Jay Wright's out in Villanova, you would maybe have to hand the reins to maybe the best coach in the Big East, to Greg McDermott.
They have a tough front line as well. So they're a balanced team. They learned a lot from their late season run. The toughest thing for them is now they are the hunted. They're not the team that everybody thinks, oh boy, that guy's pretty good. That was a pretty good win. Everybody's going to be gunning for them in the Big East and in any non-conference games. They know how good Creighton is. They know how well coached they are. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to that in the early going of the Big East. I could see them losing a game that perhaps on paper you would think, oh boy, how did they lose to Seton Hall, or how did they lose, well, they won't lose to Georgetown, but I'm just using them as an example. How did they lose to Georgetown? But then come the end of the year, that's going to pay huge dividends for them come tournament time, both the Big East tournament and the NCAA tournament. And I think they're going to be a number one seed. That's how high I am on Creighton. I think they have all of the pieces. If everything comes together and that experience brings out the next level on players like Kaluma, for example, I think sounds like I've been coaching a game here already. I'm so excited about talking about college basketball. I think they're going to be a number one seed, and they're going to be a nightmare for anybody they play.